Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ochakde Show. We're Silicon Valley's first business podcast for teens, hosted by a teen. I'm Sachin Syal. I'm a 16-year-old award-winning entrepreneur and podcaster from the Bay Area. I interview remarkable and influential people from all walks of life so we can learn from their stories and level up ourselves. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of 3doshas.com. We're a lifestyle coaching platform, and our mission is to transform lives through coaching principles inspired by yoga and Ayurveda. And as you guys probably know, the purpose of the show is to inspire you to go for it. And that's what Ochakde means. So Ochakde is a Punjabi word and it means go for it. Today's very special guest is billionaire Anthony Iorio, joining us from Canada. He's a legendary and influential crypto entrepreneur, co-founder of Ethereum, and funded the company in the early days. I really don't need to do an intro about Ethereum. I mean, it's literally the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap. And he's also serving as the CEO and founder of the blockchain company Decentral and also the Jaxx wallet. He's also an adjunct professor at the University of Toronto's Faculty of Law. A fun fact about Anthony is that he was also an early investor in Bitcoin. So Anthony, this feels surreal, man. I mean, the co-founder of Ethereum on my show. You're extremely influential. The world knows you, and just thank you for being here. Absolutely stoked. How are you doing, and what's new and exciting?
I'm well. Thanks for having me here. Need to correct a couple things though on the intro. Not a billionaire, never have been. It's an example of media gone awry, and never have I ever claimed that I had been, and it just kind of gets carried over year after year from something that came out in Forbes back in 2018, maybe. And then if you even think about the ups and downs of the markets and things like that, it just seems to be something that people stick with. And I find it unfortunate, but never been there, never been close to it. And it's something that I generally correct every time someone will bring that up, because it's just what's shown online, unfortunately. And that's, it's not accurate, not true, and an example of learning from, people just assume. They assume things that a lot of people can assume things that they read in the media. I'm also not an adjunct professor anymore. It was something that I did a few years ago. But aside from that, I think everything else was pretty accurate in what you did. And glad to be here. And thanks for reaching out to me, and happy to connect with your audience, and super thrilled with what you're doing and bringing together for people of your age group. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying this interview so far. Let's talk about today's sponsor. Pick My Kid is a comprehensive school safety and daily dismissal solution that serves more than 5,000 K-12 schools in all 50 states. It includes cost-effective tools for daily dismissal management, silent panic alarm, digital hall pass, emergency reunification, and parent messaging solutions to ensure that every school is safe, no matter their zip code. This cloud-based platform addresses the safety needs of schools without any need to purchase or install additional hardware, enabling schools to quickly roll out Pick My Kid in any school. Pick My Kid is also fully integrated with all major student information systems, enabling setup and rollout within just 5 days. Visit pickmykid.com for more info and to schedule a live demo. Now, on to the Ochakde Show episode.
Yeah, apologies. I mean, it just says that online. So, and usually all the teens get excited, like, "Oh wow, this guy's amazing." But my bad. I didn't know it was inaccurate. But yeah,
Yeah, no, it's never been accurate, that statement. And I don't go out of my way in terms of I got to get people to take stuff down. And it's any time that I can do of making the correction or saying things, I try to do that, because I think accuracy of all things like that is important, and words are important. And it wouldn't feel right to me to carry on a claim that I since day one has been inaccurate, and never anything that I've said or anything that I've ever promoted.
got it. Okay, so I've heard from other podcasts about how you started before you were a teen, when you got your hands on a computer, but I want you to talk about that. So yeah, what's your background before you entered the entrepreneurship and crypto space?
So I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. I was born in 75, so I'm 48. And it was the dawn of the personal computing age. It's really when the first computers started coming out that people could have in their homes, and the idea of the democratization of computing power was something that was getting off the ground. And my dad came home with an IBM PC Junior. I think it was 82 or 83, 1982 or 83. And I just became the computer guy in the family. And I was just, for the next many years, was just computers and building computers, and eventually getting online with modems in the 80s before the internet existed, and dial up through phone lines. And I just was about connecting with people and getting onto other people's computers and sharing files, and just the thing that I would get taken away as a child would be my computer if I did something bad. So just always been enthralled with computers, and when the internet came about in the early 90s, I remember seeing the first browser when I was at university in the computer room. This would, I think it was Mosaic. And I was at school for business, didn't want to do computers. My dad was an entrepreneur. I never really wanted to be, I never wanted to be a developer so much as I did early on. I was programming, and I was using DOS, and I was using BASIC, and I was using a lot of command line systems. But entrepreneurship and running a business was more of interest to me. So I went to school for business. My first business was actually doing web design and doing graphic design. Me and my brother started a company doing that right when HTML1 kind of was starting getting off the ground. And that was just since very early on, just always been about computers and tech. And that's just always something that interested me. So that, then business, going through with school, and then getting into economics and really studying what had happened with the financial crisis and the housing crisis in the US in 2008, 2007. Learned about the Austrian School of Economics, which is more of a alternative to the Keynesian model, which is taught so much in school, and the idea of sound money being more related to the Austrian school, and more about booms and bust cycles and inflation and government-run systems, and lack of free markets is more on the Keynesian model. So I really leaned and understood more about how entrepreneurship and business and creating value and personal responsibility are all things that are important to me. And it was in 2012 when I heard about Bitcoin, and right away I grasped the idea. I'd already been involved in decentralized tech with the whole file sharing movement that happened in the early 2000s, and just understood decentralized systems, and was actually surprised I hadn't heard about Bitcoin earlier than 2012. And it was a culmination of my tech background, my business background, my studying of economics, because economics are so important in game theory and things involved in cryptocurrencies and involved in the economics of currencies is something that's I had been honing up on the last few years before hearing about it. So it was kind of a perfect storm for me to say, this is the right time for me. When the internet came about, I was a little too young to really utilize it in terms of business ideas, but from when the internet started to when I heard about Bitcoin, that's when I was really honing in on my entrepreneurial skill sets, and it was just a perfect storm. And I was very passionate about it. I looked for a community. It didn't exist in Toronto here. There really wasn't a community, and I decided to start it. And I created the Toronto Bitcoin Meetup group in 2012. And the idea being that if this is something I'm really passionate about, if I can become a center of gravity and bring people together and bring others that are passionate about what it is I'm doing, and it's kind of, I think probably what you're doing in some extent, and what you're doing with the podcasts and other things that you're involved in, you're building a community out now, and you're going to be speaking with a lot of people, and that's when ideas can really flourish and grow. So I held the first Toronto meetup. There was, I think, 8 people there, and Vitalik, Buterin, who was also from Toronto, he was at that event, and I got to know him. And through other consistent meetups and events, and they grew to hundreds of people, and ideas started coming about, and it led to a really big community here in Toronto, and eventually to the birthplace of Ethereum here. And I've just been in that space it's been 10 years now. The mission has always been to empower people with the tools they need to be in control of their digital lives, their money, communication, and identity. I have a streak of of not liking to be told what to do, and I think that the reduction of third parties and intermediaries between individuals interacting is a good thing, and the more decentralized things can be, and I think is better off. And I think people should be in control of their money and be in control of their communications and be in control of their identities. And right now, a lot of models are based differently, where they're extractive, and I think it would be better if people were in more control. So that was long-winded, but that's kind of my story up to what I've been doing in the space and how I kind of got into tech and got into things. So yeah.
That's actually amazing. You know, that's why, like, when I was doing research on like other people's podcasts, I'm like, this Anthony guy seems pretty cool. He's pretty successful too. So let me try reaching out to him. And you said yes. I was like, guys, I tell family, no way, Anthony, I should go back to me. He just said yes. So that was really cool. I want to go to the next question, but I told you before we recorded, like, I really like the fish tank in the back. And is it true that one of the fish is like the same one that Dory, like in the movie, looks like?
Yeah. There's a I think they're tangs. It's a saltwater tank. Something I've maintained myself and I've done it for the last number of years, and it's got a number of fish in there, and it's kind of one of my relaxing hobbies that I maintain and make sure the environment's good, and it's kind of a nice backdrop for the video. Even the rest of it doesn't look the best here in my office, but it's kind of cool to have that, and provides a little bit of calmness in my life and slowness there, and it's good to just look over there. And whenever I bring my daughter from the bedroom in the morning, my baby, we're looking at the fish, and she's tapping on the glass, and I enjoy that I have it.
It's awesome. Yeah, I told you I had like guppies, neon tetras, goldfish. I had all those types of fish, and I still like fish a lot. That's pretty cool, and it is pretty relaxing and calming. And then you have to take care of them too, which is also like gives you a role. Like when I was really young, it's like a responsibility I had to take care of. So it's pretty cool.
It's quite a bit of work. It's quite a bit of work.
Yeah, it is.
One of those things that you could enjoy the art of what you're putting together, and it's a community, and it's interesting how the fish engage, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, same. So I have to still do more research on this, and I think a lot of my friends told me to ask you this question as well. Can you like briefly and simply explain how does crypto and what does even decentralization mean, and like how can my teen audience understand that?
Okay, there's a number of questions in there. Cryptocurrencies are the idea of using encryption for the production of new assets and ways of securing it, and it's something like Bitcoin is a decentralized technology that enables people to own their digital assets, and everything is tracked on the blockchain, on a particular Bitcoin blockchain, and it uses cryptography in order to secure the assets. So it's digital. Everything over the last many decades now has been turning digital. Everything previous used to be analog, and with the internet, you had a rise of digital information and the ability to copy things and send it to someone around the world. And there was a massive disruption or change regarding anything to do with postal services, or things that were the news could now be disseminated and democratized, and people could run a podcast and they could get their information out there. And this never existed before. The extent of things moving was through mail. And when you have digital, you now can make copies of something. And then with the dawn of the internet, you had the ability to democratize information and send information around the world. And that's led to a lot of change and disruption in many different sectors. Well, kind of Bitcoin and crypto is more the idea now of you have digital assets, and you have the ability to send and receive value. So I'd like to equate the internet as that information change, whereas now you're talking about value being able to be moved from one person to another, and the change that it's going to impact on governments' hold over currencies and systems of currency around the world that are akin to intranets, or kind of closed off systems. You've got to send from one country's currency to another country's currency, and it's not a very efficient system. The idea of Bitcoin being a global currency that connects individuals and allows you to control the keys to it, and it's not held by anybody else, gives the freedom and empowerment for individuals to be in full control and be able to send transactions without middle layers and many middlemen in between, which can be very costly and expensive. So it's democratizing value and the ability for people to send value from one person to another. And that's freedom. I mean, that's the idea of, for me, money, communication, and identity. That's the money side. You're able to own something that can't be taken away from you. You're able to send it from one person to another. And hopefully you're able to do it at very, very low costs. And there is some limitations to the system, but in a world where governments kind of control currencies and can create inflation and it's at the whims of humans, crypto's more in the whims of mathematics, and allows people to remove a lot of middle layers in engaging with each other. And the breakthrough that happened was that for the first time ever with Bitcoin, something digital couldn't be duplicated. And that was really a major breakthrough, because prior to Bitcoin, everything digital could be duplicated. And whereby that's great for sharing files or emails and making copies of things, it doesn't do very well for money. One of the properties of money is the scarcity, and if something can be duplicated, it really doesn't have much value in terms of money. So Bitcoin solved the problem. For the first time ever, something digital couldn't be duplicated. And if I had one, I can send it to you, and now you have it and I don't have it anymore. So it was a whole bunch of systems coming together to tackle a deficiency in currencies and in digital assets that before Bitcoin had the limitations, because everything digital could be duplicated. So once that problem was solved, it really opened the doors for, you mean I can have this thing and I can send it to another person and it can be done at any time and I don't need to pay all these middle layers. The digitization of money is something that's been sought for a very long time, and Bitcoin put a bunch of pieces together in order to make that happen.
Awesome. I think I understand a little more, but I still need to do more research, and I have some questions later. But for the question right now is, can you tell us about the blockchain company Decentral and then the Jaxx wallet? Like, when someone hears wallet, I'm sure my audience is like, what? Isn't that like when you have to go to a restaurant or have to buy something at a store, you take out your wallet? What's a cryptocurrency Jaxx wallet? So can you explain that?
Sure. And that was actually another correction. We don't make Jaxx anymore. We discontinued Jaxx recently. But the idea of wallets is equivalent to a browser for the internet. If you think about before the browser for the internet, there was a lack of an interface that people would utilize in order to navigate to websites. And then when the browsers came about in the 90s, late 80s, I think, early 90s, it became the interface in order to utilize for the average person or anybody this internet. So it was the user interface to allow people to go to websites and see the information. And it really became and started off this kind of browser wars of who was going to be the leader, the winner. And right now you've got Chrome as the one I believe is used most substantially. And then you have Microsoft and you have other ones, but akin to the user interface for the internet, for value, you need to store that value somewhere and allow that thing to be managed. So wallets are the interfaces for digital assets. And they allow individuals to be able to manage and send transactions, receive transactions, see your balances of your digital assets. And in 2012, I kind of realized early on that the wallet was going to be the interface that's going to be utilized just like the browser was for the internet. So I started building wallets in 2012, 2013 to enable people to manage their keys to their digital assets. So
okay, got it.
We built software that empowered individuals to hold their keys to their digital assets and to be able to connect to the different blockchains to send and receive transactions and get their balances, and to be able to utilize different cryptocurrency networks. So we were building interfaces, which are the wallets, that enabled people to manage their keys. We never took custodianship or never had control of customer funds. It was an interface that empowered people, not was anything that we needed to secure for them. We enabled them to hold their own keys and send their own transactions, and never became a custodian of their funds. So that was just a model that aligns with the ethos of Bitcoin, which is you shouldn't have to rely on a third party, or you shouldn't have to, you should be able to do your own thing without relying on third parties. Now, there's a lot of products like exchanges and hosted wallets, and they can offer some value to people as well, but we did non-custodial wallets that help people manage their own keys, yet still be able to connect and send transactions and see their balances and manage their digital assets themselves. So that's has been the bulk of what Decentral has done for the last number of years, is build wallets and build infrastructure that allowed for the connections to many, many different blockchains out there, which enabled millions of people around the world to manage their digital assets and become a trusted source for allowing them to do that.
Wow, that's pretty cool. In my opinion, it's better and cooler than a physical wallet. So yeah, for the guys or for people watching, it's not that he just explained what that wallet means. I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna do some more research on that. I always go back and rewatch all my episodes and then learn more from the people. And then some time goes by and then I rewatch it again. So yeah, thanks for sharing all this valuable insights with their audience. What do you think the future of crypto is, and how do you think you'll keep up with the latest or other big players in the game? Like, what's going to be changing?
So the latest thing that I've been working on for years is how can we empower individuals to run their own servers? What's happened over the years is a lot of work's been passed off to cloud service providers such as Amazon AWS and Azure and others that are making it easy for people to build and run things, but it's centralizing a lot of the power in those companies' hands. The idea of crypto and blockchain and the idea of being in control is kind of doesn't align very well with the idea of let's say Ethereum companies building their technologies on a cloud service provider such as AWS. The whole idea is, how do you actually empower people to move away from third parties? So there's an idea of Web3, which I like to consider a user-controlled internet, or an internet where the users are much more empowered to be in control. And I like to say that you can't have a Web3 or a user-controlled internet if the users are not actually in control of the servers. So exactly. The vision that I've always had is, how do we build computers that are allowing people to run their own nodes to the different technologies, be in control of their own identity, money, and communication, and make it super simple for them to not be reliant on a cloud service provider such as an AWS, who could be beholden to governments and be told that you can't do that. You're not allowed to run Ethereum anymore. You got to shut down all that stuff. And if 90% of Ethereum is being built on cloud service providers, how is that decentralized?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I believe that we should be eventually having individuals off cloud service providers and back into running their own servers, which is what it used to be back in the day before cloud service providers emerged. Because the profit motives or deals that you may have with any third party could change. And whether they're told by governments that you aren't allowed to do X as a cloud service provider, or they say it doesn't make sense for us to allow this to happen anymore, what could happen if most of these technologies that are building on cloud service providers decide that they don't want to do that anymore? And where does that leave an ecosystem that's been reliant on those third parties? So our goal is to help expand out the number of nodes to many different technologies, decentralized technologies, to enable stronger and less reliance on cloud service providers. So stronger networks, because decentralized technologies like Bitcoin and Ethereum are all about how can it become more distributed, more decentralized, how can it be easier for people to run their own nodes and be empowered to send their own transactions and get all the information they need without being reliant on a third party. So our mission with Anjami, a project that we announced last year, and Decentral is doing this project, is how can we provide the infrastructure to technologies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many, many other chains that we support, and enable individuals to run their own boxes. And this is what these devices look like. These are, we call these cubes, and these will be full nodes that you could run and run your own Bitcoin node, which means that you now can send your own transactions directly to the networks without relying on somebody else. And then we're also building a node sharing protocol, which allows people with these boxes to send other people's transactions for them if they want. Our goal is to help decentralize and create a system where it's very simple and easy to run your own full node, and then be incentivized to allow your device to be monetized by sending other people's transactions and providing blockchain data to others that need it, and to create a very robust, decentralized peer-to-peer network for nodes and node sharing that helps all of the technologies that we support flourish and grow and expand their decentralization, because so much is being centralized on cloud services right now. And I think that that's a huge problem and can be a massive problem in the future.
Yeah, there's gonna be, I think in like the years that like come, there's gonna be so many changes in crypto. And that silver box you showed, the cube, is pretty cool. But thanks for sharing that. This is an interesting question. You maybe haven't, no one probably asked you this, or maybe someone has, but so I've gone on YouTube and I've seen like, I mean, it's probably, I don't know if it's real or not, but it's like, oh, crypto millionaire started a cryptocurrency at 18. Like, is it possible for teens to even be in the crypto space and make money?
I think there's ways to make money. If you had put $100, $1,000 into Bitcoin a number of years ago, that would have been one way to make money. If you're understanding the economics of it and understanding that it has this utility and that it's a fixed and limited supply, and if you saw where the future was heading, like I did in 2012 when I bought my first Bitcoin at around $9 and something cents.
Yo, that's actually so good.
Yeah, well, it was a no-brainer for me, because I understood the technology, I understood the economics, I understood the faults with traditional finance and the issues with money supply and the issues with government currencies, and it made sense. And so, but then if you were to start a business and create something that didn't really have much value, and you got people convinced that it did, and you used shady tactics in order to collect other people's money and then didn't produce something of value, there's a chance you could make money, but is that what's driving you? Would that be the thing that you'd want to do? So there's definitely ways to make money, but I would get back to me of thinking, how can you really create something valuable and something that someone's going to use, and something that's not being pumped up through marketing or through advertising. So there is ways to make money. There's different ways to make money. There's the idea of having a startup and doing the VC route. It's not something that I do. I don't take outside capital for any of my projects. I funded everything myself. I don't like to be beholden to others. But I had to still make money to do that. And that came with me being able to see where the future was going to be heading and be able to create value in that space, and then be able to utilize that knowledge and foresight to be able to accumulate wealth that could then enable me to better carry out my mission in life, which is to be in service to others. That's my goal in life, is to do what I'm good at, which I think is problem solving and leadership, to be able to serve others And so, yes, getting back to your question, there's opportunities to make money in the space. I would lead that question more to how can you create value, and how can you be earning money of something that you did that created value, or saw and predicted something early on, but not done in a way where it's been extracted from other people, in a way where others would lose out. And I've learned over time that what makes me happy is to be in service to others, and my goal is to build the next generation of leaders and problem solvers. That's my personal objective and goal, by doing what I'm good at. So I think if someone can figure out what they're good at, and if they can stay and be very connected in community of something that they're interested in, I think there's probably lots of opportunity for someone to do very well and create value. And that could translate into wealth, and wealth of capital, and wealth potentially of knowledge, and wealth of being able to help other people, because there's many different types of wealth. So yeah, there's definitely ways to do it, and there's better ways to do it than other ways to do it, I think, too.
Well, that's a great goal. And whenever I interview like entrepreneurs, my goal is to have them, like, all the knowledge you just dropped. That's what I hope like the people I interview would say. So thank you for sharing that. Last two questions. Oh, sorry, what was that?
I said my pleasure.
Oh, okay. Last two questions that I asked all my guests. The first one is, what's your best advice for teens?
So that's a tricky one, because I like to say I don't like to give advice, because, and on one hand, people are different and individuals are different, and what works for one person might not work for another person. And also, sometimes being in a leadership role or being in a position of power, sometimes to give someone advice, and if they follow it and it doesn't work out for them, it can look bad and be a bad look. And I'd never want to be the person that says, you told me I should do that, and then I did it and it didn't work out for me. So I like to say that instead of giving advice, I like to say what's worked for me, with the caveat that it may not work for you, and that it's important to make your own decisions, and it's important to do what's best for you. And sometimes if you might take advice from somebody and it doesn't work out, it can lessen your respect for that person, or it can make you be thinking, wait a second, maybe I should listen more about what I'm thinking, because only I've lived my life and only I know what I should be doing here. So that's the one side of it. So I always I dance around the question a bit, because I don't want to give advice to people. But what's worked for me is to have a solid set of principles, to spend a lot of time honing in on tools and skill sets that will help get you to where you want. It's by being able to see where you want to be and what you want to do, and then working yourself to get there. That's worked for me well. It's about being diplomatic and not coming off as crazy, I think, is an important thing. And in the space that I'm in, you're going to get a lot of people that are very tribalistic. I try to stay away from that. I try to see as much as both sides as possible. So I tend to think that I'm driven by my principles and a set ethos. And I've also learned that the easy way is not generally the best way. So the harder way generally can turn out to be a much better way of doing things that doesn't have deficiencies, but you have to think things through to get to where you want. But if you're adhering to principles, it could be challenging, but it's the challenges that really make you, and it's the turbulations and troubles that can really lead to learning experiences. And if you look, if I don't want to say you, I like to look at things as opportunities. Everything's an opportunity to grow, and failures are an opportunity, and everything's about perception and the way you perceive things. And if you can look at it in the terms of gratitude, and in terms of, I'm so thankful this negative thing happened to me, because I've learned something from it. And if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have learned that lesson. So if you look at it as, thank you very much for being able to experience something like that, like anything. And if it's not looked as something negative, yet looked as something that's going to help you to increase your skill sets, or that challenge really led me to be stronger. That's what I try to do with everything. I live a very complex life. It's very complicated, my life. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving pieces. I have high ambitions of what I want to do and where I want to go. And along the way, that mentality change towards not poor me, it's amazing me and what I get to experience and what I get to learn, whether it could be looked at as, for most people, a negative consequence of something. It's all learning lessons. And I'm just grateful to be able to experience it and bring it on. And I'm ready to tackle everything and anything that gets brought on to me, because I'm the master of my own destiny, and it's me that's empowered to do what I want to do, and I'm in power, I'm in control, and I'm just grateful that I've been able to do and experience, and just gratitude, I think, is very important.
Yeah, I totally agree. All the other podcasters, influencers on Instagram say the same stuff you say, but I think you said it much better.
Oh, thank you.
So typically we're about to end, but typically what I do is I ask my guests what their favorite part of being on the show was, so some of my audience members can go back and listen to that. So what was your favorite part of this entire conversation?
I think I'm amazed by what you've done, and the questions, and the objective that you have to spread messages, and understanding that the more you can speak with people and others that you can learn from, hopefully, and the more that you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for an audience and others to be able to learn. And I think these are the type of podcasts I'd love to be part of. As I mentioned, building the next generation of leaders and problem solvers is my personal goal. I think it starts with education, it starts with curriculums, and it starts with youth, and it starts with supporting bright minds and young minds to be the next generation of leaders and problem solvers, because I think the world is sorely lacking those two things. So what's nice to see is what you've done here to showcase how you're going to be a leader, and how you are leading and taking charge of something and doing something and bringing people together and bringing information out there is a cool thing to see from somebody, and from somebody such as yourself. So I love to do these types of things, and it aligns very well with my message that I'd like to get out as well.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much for the kind words. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys. Co-founder of Ethereum, Anthony Iorio, shared the video with your friends and family. I gotta do this because I do it for some of my episodes. Ochakde, rise high. So yeah, it means go for it, but I like the rise high word as well. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.